Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we are learning Nazir, page 47, which discusses the situation that when it comes to a Nazir, as well as a Kohen Gadol, a high priest, we are more strict with them than a typical regular Kohen. In that, when it comes to a regular Kohen, if one of his 7 closest relatives dies, namely his mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, or spouse, if one of them would die, we will allow them to go and to be able to even become impure by becoming in contact with these Zion Krovim, these 7 close relatives. However, when it comes to the high priest and the Nazir, we do not make those exceptions. And even though, of course, one could imagine how much they would enjoy or how important it would be for them to be part of being with their family at that moment, they're not allowed to become impure. However, there is one exception, and that is for what's called a mace mitzvah. Namely, if they would be walking in the street and they would encounter a body in which has not been buried, they have an obligation to make sure by themselves to bury that body, even though it means they will, of course, become tameh, they'll become impure. Doesn't matter. We will require even the high priest or the Nazir, because it's so important to make sure that when it comes to someone who needs to be buried, that must take place. Even if the one person who encounters them is one of the holiest people in the world, we do not care. We still will make you become impure to make sure that that person's remains are taken care of. Now, in this, the Talmud wonders that there are different types of Kohanim. Most people think there's one high priest, but the truth is there was another high priest called a Sagan, the deputy, and his purpose was almost like in an actor's situation, that you have an understudy. In case the main actor gets sick, someone else can just jump right in because the show must go on. So too when it comes to the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, if let's say the high priest became impure, so what are you supposed to do? So we have another Kohen that can immediately jump in. And therefore he has tremendous value because we need him to remain pure just in case the first high priest becomes impure. So what happens if he's walking together with another high priest? And this high priest is one who is designated for war. Just like chaplains in the military, it used to be in the times of the Bible and the Torah, we had the same thing. We had people who were the high priest, and his position was not to be in the temple, but to be in the battlefields, and to give words of encouragement and chizuk to those individuals who are about to fight, that they should be brave and they should feel a sense of courage in their battles. So the question is posed, who would come first if you have these 2 people walking? The deputy high priest and this high priest who his job is to be on the battlefield. So which person should be the one, if we only need one person to care for the remains, who should become impure? So on this, the Talmud says that when it comes to becoming impure, we say, let the person who is on the battlefield become impure, because he's not actually doing the service in the temple anyway, and allow this deputy to remain pure. However, interestingly enough, it says, what happens if you have these 2 people and there's not enough food to go around, and you need to be able to sustain one of them? So what should you do? Who should you give the food to? And the answer is you should give it to the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, who is involved in the battlefield. Why? It's because, as the Talmud says, the multitudes are counting on him. They're relying on him. So important is this person that even though the person who may end up taking over the position as the high priest, we still say, let's make sure that the other high priest, the one who is giving words of encouragement to the soldiers on the battlefield, make sure that that individual has enough food, that that person should be able to be satiated to give words of strength and encouragement to those soldiers.